Have you ever stopped to think how these really ancient philosophical fights, these battles about what reality is, might actually still echo today in how we see things? What if these clashes from thinkers maybe we barely remember could actually shine a light on our deepest ideas about what's real, what's fundamental, and, how everything connects? So today, we're not just like glancing back. We're diving deep, really deep, into this, epic philosophical smackdown pitting Anaxagoras of Clazomenae, a pre-Socratic thinker, against the incredibly intricate mind of Gottfried Wilhelm Leibniz. Okay, but before we jump into that ring, just a quick but a really crucial note. AI, and this podcast too, can sometimes confabulate. That means, presenting ideas as if they're solid fact, even when they might be interpretations. Our subject is philosophy, obviously, but we don't share its claim to authority over the real, with a capital R. Our goal, it's simpler. Just to point you towards the original sources, get you thinking, and maybe spark some new ideas. Welcome back to AI History of Western Philosophy. Now, our mission today, it's pretty ambitious, I'll admit.
But I think it's essential for getting a genuinely fresh perspective. We're going to try what we're calling a radical reconstruction of Anaxagoras. He's often misunderstood, frankly. And once we sort of rebuilt his really sharp ideas, we'll use them as this powerful critical lens to really dissect Leibniz's super complex metaphysical system. This isn't just history, it's a head-on collision, you see. Two fundamentally different ways of looking at what reality is even made of, how things exist, how order, comes out of potential chaos. All right, let's set the stage. Anaxagoras, pre-Socratic guy, often, maybe unfairly, seen as a bit primitive, especially next to Leibniz's really sophisticated idealism, which, believe me, we'll get into. But what if that's just wrong? What if we've been looking at him through the wrong filter, maybe Aristotle's filter, and missing the point? Could there be a deeper, way more challenging, maybe even surprisingly modern take on his work? Something that shows a truly radical ontology, a theory of being itself. Okay, let's really unpack this.
Yes, that's precisely it. A radical reconstruction is, it's vital if we want Anaxagoras to be a serious match for Leibniz. The usual view, you see, it's heavily filtered, almost forced into Aristotle's categories. Aristotle was brilliant, no doubt, but he often read earlier thinkers through his own lens, sometimes missing the really radical bits. So if we step back from that Aristotelian frame, a deeper reading, maybe a more accurate one, reveals these incredibly powerful ontological ideas. We're talking infinite divisibility, this pervasive universal mixture, and a really unique understanding of newness mind or intellect. So this rebuilt Anaxagoras, centered on this continuous material plenum and an immanent principle of order. That's our critical lens today. It lets us see Leibniz in a totally new light.
Okay, so let's start with Leibniz's foundation, the absolute bedrock of his whole system. His monadology doesn't kick off with looking at the world. No, it starts with this deductive claim. Reality is ultimately made of simple substances, indivisible, partless units. He calls them the true atoms of nature. This idea, this fundamental, unbreakable building block. That's the cornerstone. Everything else is built on that.
And bam, right there, that's where Anaxagoras steps in with a completely irreconcilable view. His entire cosmology is built on rejecting indivisible minima. Just flat out rejecting it. His fragments are clear. He says, there is no least of what is small, but always a lesser. Now, that's not just about, our limits of seeing small things. It's not practical limits. It's a deep metaphysical principle about the very fabric of being. Substance, for him, is infinitely divisible. You can always divide, conceptually, physically, always find a smaller part. Forever. He completely rejects the idea of primary, indivisible building blocks.
Wow. So right off the bat, this massive, irreconcilable opposition. Leibniz absolutely needs his simples, his monads, to ground compound things. For him, if everything just kept dividing forever, how could anything stable even exist? How could complexity hold together? But Anaxagoras says, no, looking for simples. That's the fundamental error. His universe isn't built up from simples. It's it starts as a whole, a primordial continuum that gets differentiated. It's they're starting from opposite ends of the universe, philosophically speaking.
It's a profound split, yes. And to really grasp Anaxagoras, there's this useful modern concept, gunk. In metaphysics, gunk is any whole where all its parts have further proper parts. Think about it, no matter how much you divide it, you never hit bottom. Never find an indivisible atom. It's parts within parts, endlessly. Since Anaxagoras insists on this, always a lesser, never a least. Well, you could call him the first gunk lover in metaphysics. His universe is gunky.
Gunk lover. I love that. It actually really helps reframe him, doesn't it? It means he's not some, primitive guy fumbling towards atomism.
No.
He's rejecting atomism entirely. Sophisticatedly. His universe, like you said, it's necessarily gunky, a plenum, a continuum, like a fractal, right? Yeah. Zoom in forever, always more detail, never just blankness.
Exactly. And this reframing puts Anaxagoras directly against Leibniz's core premise. The Anaxagorean critique isn't just about the details of Leibniz's simples, it's a fundamental challenge. Can simple, indivisible units even exist as the ultimate reality? From Anaxagoras' viewpoint, Leibniz searching for a simple substance is, well, it's a category error. He's looking for something that, by the very nature of being, as Anaxagoras sees it, just can't be there, like looking for the edge of a circle.
Okay, now let's dive into maybe his most famous, definitely his most puzzling idea. Everything in everything. Homo panta. Now, the usual way people explain this, filtered down through the ages, is like a physical mix. Tiny bits, seeds of everything and everything else. So wood have microscopic gold particles, flesh particles, water particles, all mixed in. Its woodness is just like having more wood bits.
Right, that's the standard take. But it runs into trouble pretty quickly with another key Anaxagorean idea, homooumereity. This basically means, attributed to him via Aristotle mostly, that something like bone is made of parts that are also bone. Take a tiny piece of bone, it's still bone, all the way down. But wait, if every single part of bone is bone, how can it also contain bits of gold or hair or everything else? The seeds model creates a real tension here, a paradox almost. How can it be only bone and also everything else?
Okay, so if the standard view is tricky, what's the more radical and coherent interpretation? How do we fix this?
Yeah.
You're saying the mixture isn't tiny bits side by side. It's total interpenetration.
Yeah.
Different things in the same place, same time, like the Stoics later talked about, where the fundamental stuff isn't particles, but qualities all mixed together everywhere, like dye soaking through water.
Exactly. And we can push that even further. In this radical view, Anaxagorean ontology has no matter, in the old sense, no inert stuff having qualities. Instead, reality is qualitative gunk. The cosmos is made of infinitely divisible powers, or maybe quality tropes. So the hot, the cold, the bright, the dark, wet, dry.
Mm-hmm.
These are the fundamental constituents, and they're all co-located, interpenetrating everywhere, all the time. It's a world purely of dynamic qualities.
Whoa. So what we see as material things, earth, flesh, whatever, they aren't fundamental. They're emergent phenomena. They just kind of pop up where certain qualities bunch together. Like, give us an example. How does Earth appear?
Precisely. Earth isn't made of earth particles. It appears in a region where there's a significant preponderance, a dominant concentration of certain qualities. The dense, the wet, the cold, the dark tropes. When these interpenetrating qualities reach a critical density together, we perceive earth, flesh. That's where wet, soft, and warm are dominant. And this elegantly solves the homooumereity problem. Every part of bone is bone, meaning it shows the same preponderance of bone-making qualities. But at the same time, that very same part still contains all the other quality tropes, gold making, hair making, just in, lesser amounts. Non-indominant. Everything and everything holds true, but through qualities, not particles.
That completely changes things. He's not a simple materialist anymore. He's a proponent of a pure power ontology. It's not inert stuff ordered by a mind outside. It's dynamic powers organized from within. This reframing is huge. It puts him on the same level as Leibniz, metaphysically. This sends out a much deeper clash, doesn't it? A sophisticated clash between two competing non-materialist metaphysics.
And the final piece of this Anaxagorean lens is reinterpreting Nous, mind, intellect. In his cosmology, Nous kicks off the cosmic vortex, starts the separating off diacrisis that forms the world from the initial mix. Now, the fragments describe Nous in ways that seem contradictory. Sometimes it's unlimited, self-determining, mixed with no thing, sounds transcendent, right? Separate. That's what disappointed Plato and Aristotle. They saw it as a deus ex machina, just starting things off, then poof, gone.
But here's where it gets really interesting. That ambiguity might be the key. Because other fragments say Nous controls all that have life, and crucially is in some things too, and very much even now where all other things are too. It sounds like it's in the mix, present everywhere. So maybe not an external creator God, but
what?
The immanent principle of rational differentiation, working inside the plenum. How does that work?
Precisely. Not an external creator, but the inherent self-organizing logic of the cosmos. Woven into the qualitative gunk itself. It's the rational force governing how qualities emerge, how preponderances form the world we see. The separating off isn't random, it's a rational unfolding guided by Nous. It's both natural and, well, divine in a sense, present everywhere, yet still the determining power. When he says unmixed, it doesn't mean spatially separate. It means its nature as a pure organizing principle isn't diluted by the qualities it organizes. It's the rule of order, not one of the things being ordered. Like the laws of physics aren't made of atoms, they govern them.
Okay, that transforms Nous. It's not a clumsy plot device anymore. It's this really sophisticated concept of immanent cosmic intelligence. And that's huge for our comparison. It gives us a direct Anaxagorean alternative to Leibniz's transcendent God, which we need to get to now. This sets up a fascinating clash over cosmic order itself.
Right. So with our Anaxagorean lens ready, let's pivot. Let's step into the world of Leibniz's monadology. Whoa! This is dense, intricate, one of the most ambitious rationalist systems ever. Unlike Anaxagoras, starting with observation, Leibniz tries to deduce reality from first principles, like his principle of efficient reason. It's this grand logical architecture of being.
And seen through our Anaxagorean lens, what immediately jumps out is, well, we called it an architecture of profound isolation. Its logical elegance is undeniable, a masterpiece of reason. But that elegance, from Anaxagoras' viewpoint, comes at a huge cost. It cuts off all genuine connection, all real interaction between the world's fundamental parts. Precision over connection, you might say. Okay, foundation first. The monad. Leibniz is crystal clear. Nothing else than a simple substance. By simple, we mean without parts. The ultimate irreducible unit. Can't be analyzed further.
And he gets there by deduction. We see compound things, right? Tables, planets. So logic says there must be simple things making them up. Otherwise, infinite regress, nothing truly real. Composites imply simples, and if there are no parts, then no extension, no shape, no divisibility. So monads are true atoms of nature, yes, but not physical atoms. They're unextended, purely metaphysical points. Their simplicity also makes them indestructible by natural means. No parts to break apart, only divine creation or annihilation can touch them.
And they're not just simple and indestructible. Each one is totally unique, right? No two are the same.
Absolutely. That follows from another huge Leibniz principle, the identity of indiscernibles. Never in nature two beings, exactly alike. If two things had all the same properties, there'd be no reason for them to be two distinct things. They'd be one. So logically, there must be an infinite number of unique, simple, partless, indestructible metaphysical substances. Imagine an infinity of unique, unextended souls, each with its own perspective on the cosmos.
Uniqueness.
Oh, okay. So the inner life. If a monad has no parts, can't be affected from outside, all its changes must come from within. What's going on inside a monad? Leibniz maps it out. Two main faculties, perception and appetition. Perception is the monad's internal state. It represents or mirrors the entire universe from its unique viewpoint. Think of each monad as a living mirror of everything, but from one specific angle. Every monad reflects the whole cosmos, though most have petite perceptions, faint, confused, unconscious ones. Like hearing the ocean's roar, not each individual drop. Appetition is the internal drive, the striving that pushes the monad from one perception to the next. It follows a preset law of the series, its unique internal program. Its whole history is encoded within it.
Which brings us to maybe the most radical part, that famous line, monads have no windows through which anything may come in or go out.
Yeah, and he means it literally, metaphysically. Absolutely no causal interaction between any two created substances, zero. One monad cannot act on another, cannot influence it, bump into it, nothing. Changes inside are spontaneous, purely internal, driven by its own appetition. So, cause and effect as we see it, billiard balls colliding, sun-warming rock fundamentally, that's an illusion. Really, the ball monads, the sun monads, the rock monads, they're all just unfolding their internal programs. No influence passes between them. Each monad is a self-contained, solipsistic universe, a world apart.
Okay, hold on. That raises the biggest question, doesn't it? If nothing interacts, if every monad is locked in its own world,
Yeah.
how do we get a coherent shared reality? Why does my deciding to raise my arm, my sole monad changing state, perfectly match my arm actually moving, which involves countless other monads changing states? Shouldn't it be total chaos? Or just random parallel universe?
That's the core problem Leibniz has to solve. And his famous ingenious solution is pre-established harmony. He argues God, in his infinite wisdom and power, created the universe so that the internal programs, the law of the series, of every single monad are perfectly synchronized from the very beginning. Like a master clockmaker creating infinite perfect clocks, winds them up, sets them identically. They run in perfect sync forever without ever influencing each other. Each monad unfolds its states in perfect, pre-planned correspondence with all others. Creates the appearance of interaction, the appearance of a shared world, but it's appearance, not direct cause.
And just to be clear, it's pre-established, one act of creation, not God constantly stepping in, which would be occasionalism.
Right, a single initial setup. And this divine act itself is governed by another key principle, the principle of sufficient reason, PSR. Nothing happens without a sufficient reason. Okay, for anything true, any event, there has to be an explanation. Now, for the whole contingent world, why this world exists, not another or none the reason can't be in the world, that leads to infinite regress. So the ultimate reason must be a necessary being outside the world. That's God. God surveyed infinite possible worlds and chose to create this one because it's the best of all possible worlds, meaning it maximizes variety and richness while using the simplest laws, maximum perfection, order, harmony. So PSR demands a transcendent God who is both the ultimate cause and the architect of this non-causal harmony. And yes, that heavy reliance on God is a major critique. Is it philosophy or theology? Okay, before the critique really hits, let's just quickly paint the contrast again, side by side. Anaxagoras, fundamental unit, continuous, infinitely divisible gunk. Leibniz, simple, indivisible, unextended monad. Nature of substance. Anaxagoras, interpenetrating qualities, everything and everything. Leibniz, self-contained mind-like entities, perception, appetition. Causality, Anaxagoras, intrinsic connection, shifting preponderances in the mix. Leibniz, zero intersubstantial causality, pre-established harmony, source of order. Anaxagoras, immanent nosi, organizing from within. Leibniz, transcendent God, choosing and pre-establishing from outside. Mind-body, Anaxagoras, no fundamental split, Nous organizes the plenum. Leibniz needs harmony between soul monad and body monads. Physical world, Anaxagoras, primary reality to be explained. Leibniz, well-founded phenomenon, appearance grounded in monads. The gap between them is just immense.
Right. Huge gap. Now, let's bring that Anaxagorean hammer down, starting with Leibniz's foundation, the simple, indivisible monad. From Anaxagoras' view, infinite complexity, universal mixture is fundamental. This simple substance idea isn't just wrong, it's like a metaphysical fiction, unworkable.
Exactly. Anaxagoras' core ideas don't just challenge the monad, they dismantle it. He'd argue its simplicity makes it incapable of existing fundamentally and useless for explaining a dynamic, connected world. It's just sterile.
For Anaxagoras, to exist is to be complex. Remember, everything has a portion of everything. That's an ontological claim. Nothing can be purely one thing. To exist, it has to contain bits of everything else. Interconnectedness is built in.
And that comes from explaining change without creation from nothing. The food to hair example. Hair doesn't magically appear. It must have already been present in the food somehow. Change is just rearrangement, making manifest what was already mixed in, not creating new stuff.
So from that viewpoint, Leibniz's monad absolute purity without parts contains only itself. It becomes an ontological absurdity.
Precisely. Anaxagoras sees it violating reality's basic structure. A truly simple thing couldn't change or create complexity because it has no diverse parts or qualities to rearrange. It's inert. The monad seems like a product of Leibniz's top-down logic. He needs it for his system, deduces it from principles like PSR, not from looking at the world.
Which really underlines that clash of methodological priority. Anaxagoras is bottom-up, empirical. Starts with observed change, finds principles like mixture to explain it.
Right. Anaxagoras would say Leibniz's monad is a conceptual artifact, a mental construct that fails basic empirical tests. It can't explain real transformation, only pre-programmed unfolding. Anaxagorean reality is messy, real transformation. Leibniz's simple monad, a fiction, unable to ground that reality.
Let's push deeper on the physical side. Monads are simple, partless, so unextended, metaphysical points. But the world we see is extended. Vastly. For Leibniz, that physical world is just a well-founded phenomenon, an appearance based on the perceptions of these unextended monads.
While Anaxagoras' world is the opposite, a fundamentally extended, gunky plenum, continuous, infinitely divisible, qualities everywhere, no unextended points at the base, it starts extended.
So the Anaxagorean critique here seems, well, direct and devastating. You cannot build a continuous, extended reality from unextended, indivisible points. That's the classic problem of the continuum, right? How do you get extension from non-extension? Length from dimensionless points, like building with shadows.
Exactly. And from this view, Leibniz trying to solve it by saying the physical world isn't fundamentally real. That looks like an admission of failure. It's like saying, the thing I need to explain, oh, it's not actually real. Problem solved by denying the phenomenon. Anaxagoras' gunk avoids this. The continuous plenum is fundamental. Leibniz, for Anaxagoras, has it backwards. Starts with points, tries to build extension, fails, instead of starting with the continuum and explaining differentiation.
So the world isn't built from points. It's carved out of a continuum.
That's the Anaxagorean take. The Leibnizian monad isn't reality's building block, it's a conceptual error. trying to force discrete logic onto a continuous world, misunderstanding being itself.
Okay, second pillar. Causal isolation. The monads have no windows. Pre-established harmony. From Anaxagoras, this whole setup is a profound misunderstanding of relation and causality.
You bet. The Anaxagorean plenum, with its universal interpenetration, offers organic, intrinsic connection. Everything is related because everything is in everything. From that perspective, Leibniz's harmony seems baroque and unnecessary. Overly complex, a fix for a problem created by defining substance as isolated in the first place. Why make it so hard?
In the Anaxagorean model, relation is intrinsic, because everything is co-located. A thing is defined by its relations within the whole, not some isolated essence. So absolute isolation, a windowless entity, that's just unintelligible, like a note without music or a color alone.
Leibniz's monads are the polar opposite, defined by their lack of causal relation. All relations, north of, heavier than, reduced to internal non-relational states. Paris is north of Rome isn't a real spatial link for Leibniz. It's about internal perceptions within Paris monads and Rome monads, programmed to match. No external connection needed.
So Anaxagoras would say a windowless entity is a non-entity, a philosophical ghost. And multiplying them infinitely doesn't make a shared world, just an infinite number of disconnected worlds running in parallel, like radios tuned to different stations that just happen to play the same song.
It's not just denying causality, it's denying intrinsic relation. For Anaxagoras, the world is a single unified system. Parts are linked because they are aspects of the same underlying gunk. To deny that is to deny a cosmos is even possible. Leibniz's universe, then, isn't a true cosmos, just a collection of points whose order is projected onto them, not inherent within them.
Now, pre-established harmony. An ingenious solution, sure, but from Anaxagoras, it's the ultimate symptom of a disease starting premise. It flags the core problem.
Absolutely. Anaxagoras would argue if your metaphysics needs something this complex, this unverifiable, this reliant on theology, that's a huge red flag. It signals your starting point simple, isolated substance was likely profoundly mistaken. Why invent such an elaborate fix if reality wasn't broken by your assumptions?
Compare that to Anaxagoras explaining coordination. It's organic and economic. No mind-body problem, no dualism. Just qualities and Nous. Wind moves leaves. Not synchronized monad programs. It's air qualities and leaf qualities interpenetrating, moving within the vortex guided by Nous. One fluid system.
Exactly. Interaction isn't some mystery needing God's intervention. It's the natural consequence of universal co-presence. The analogy holds. The orchestra needs no external conductor because all the instruments are parts of one vast cosmic instrument, naturally resonating together. Harmony is built in.
So Leibniz's harmony, brilliant as it is, looks like a metaphysical Rube Goldberg machine. Insanely complicated to get an outcome order that Anaxagoras' system generates naturally.
And the very need for it implicitly admits the monadic idea failed to explain the world. It shows substances so fundamentally alienated that only God can hold them together, even if just initially. Anaxagoras' world is inherently coherent. Order arises from within. It needs no external harmony because it is a harmonious whole, self-organizing.
All right, final line of critique. The most fundamental one. Leibniz's reliance on a transcendent creator God, the ultimate sufficient reason, the architect of harmony.
And Anaxagoras' immanent Nous offers the counter-model, a self-organizing, self-explanatory cosmos. This view exposes Leibniz's appeal to a transcendent God, not as strength, but as a major philosophical concession. An admission that his created world of monads is fundamentally deficient. It can't stand on its own, needs external propping up.
Let's nail down Nous again. Immanent principle of order within the plenum. How does it work internally?
It's the inherent logic of the universe driving the vortex, causing qualities to differentiate dense or rare, hot-cold according to their natures. It's not random. It's law-like and intelligible, generating the ordered world. The cosmos organizes itself from within, a dynamic self-actualizing process.
So Nous isn't a personified will choosing things. It's the very principle of cosmic development. An intrinsic force.
Exactly, which means the reason for the world's order is within the world itself, in the interplay of the mixture and its inherent organizing principle. No need to look outside the system. The system contains its own reason for being what it is. It's a complete and self-sufficient explanatory whole.
Now contrast Leibniz's God. Two essential jobs. One, ultimate sufficient reason for contingent monads. Series can't ground itself. Two, divine architect of harmony. Only way to sync isolated monads.
From the Anaxagorean view, this is, again, a profound admission of the metaphysical inadequacy of the created world itself. It concedes the monad universe is fundamentally incapable of generating its own order or accounting for its own existence. It's passive, inert, needs an external designer. Anaxagoras would say a true first principle must be immanent, involved. Leibniz's God is a supreme artisan, an engineer, not a true cosmic principle intrinsic to the world. It posits a radical separation Anaxagoras denies.
And this critique exposes something deeper. Leibniz's best of all possible worlds, while sounding optimistic, is actually pessimistic about reality's inherent nature.
Yes. The idea God chooses the best implies the monads themselves aren't inherently ordered to good or rationality. Their order is contingent, an external imposition. If God chose differently, they could exist in chaos. Order is a gift, not their nature.
Contrast that with the more optimistic vision in Anaxagoras.
Right. For Anaxagoras, the ordering by immanent Nous is the natural and necessary state. The vortex isn't one option chosen. It's the necessary unfolding of intrinsic rationality. No external choice involved, just actualization. So Leibniz's world has order as a fragile external imposition. Anaxagoras's has it as an intrinsic essential self-generating property. Leibniz's cosmos needs a divine savior. Anaxagoras's saves itself through its own immanent intelligence.
Wow. What a journey. Unpacking these two. It's not just minor disagreements, is it? It's a fundamental clash. Two different worlds. Complexity, connection, immanent order versus simplicity, isolation, transcendent decree. And the Anaxagorean verdict seems harsh. Leibniz describes a world of ghosts, a phantom reality.
Yeah, the critiques stack up. 1. The simple monad, a metaphysical fiction. Born of logic, maybe, but can't explain change or ground an extended world, leads to calling reality an illusion. 2, causal isolation, an ontological absurdity from the Anaxagorean view of inherent relation, makes pre-established harmony a monstrously complex fix for a self-inflicted problem, admits the failure of isolation. 3, the transcendent God, reveals the created world's inherent deficiency, needs an external engineer because it can't order itself, unlike the Anaxagorean cosmos with its immanent nous.
So the final judgment, Leibniz's monadology builds this universe of solipsistic ghosts, unextended non-interacting points. The physical world we live in, the world Anaxagoras studied, just a well-founded phenomenon, a coherent dream shared by ghosts.
Anaxagoras, the radical empiricist, starting with observation. He'd see this as the ultimate philosophical failure. Leibniz started with logic and followed it so rigorously he explained reality away, turned it into illusion. From the Anaxagorean perspective, the monad isn't nature's atom. It's a ghost haunting a logic machine, a phantom born of reason detached from the messy, interconnected world of existence.
So what does this ancient clash mean for us listening now? What if our reality is a kind of shared dream, perfectly synchronized? What does it mean to be truly awake then? And maybe, can these elegant logical systems ever fully capture the dynamic, messy truth? Or do they, maybe inevitably, turn the concrete world into an illusion? Something to think about. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive through AI history of Western philosophy. Hope exploring Anaxagoras and Leibniz sparked some new thoughts about reality itself. Keep exploring, keep questioning, keep learning.